as we all of this with a bang. Everything is flying. It's super exciting. We have the craziness. Crypto is pumping, then it's dumping. We have the SEC who either gets hacked or is incompetent. Well, they're incompetent either way. Either they got hacked or their intern or whatever pre-posted their ETF announcement. Who knows? Then Elon comes out and, leaks the password, which is something called let's fucking go Doge or something to the moon. So there's a lot of drama. There's a lot of excitement. It's Wednesday, the 10th of January, and we may see actually something that we've been waiting for, I think, for almost 10 years, which is an actual spot Bitcoin ETF. All this and much, much more we're going to be discussing. Fabio, Happy New Year. How was the holidays? How was the New Year? How is everything? Talk a bit about the past couple of days. I don't know how much you've been online, how much you've been checking online, but give us a bit of a rundown on, I don't know, what you want to share of the holidays. And then, going into 2024. Last update is about 3 weeks ago, so there's a lot to kind of dissect.
Yeah, Happy New Year, everyone. It's been a while. 3 weeks, maybe even a bit more. We're at 10, I think 4 weeks. It might be 4 weeks.
Could be.
A lot has happened. It's funny because we finished the last year off, and I think both of us were hinting at an early January ETF timeline. And so maybe just one or two personal things before we go into the ETF, because there's a lot to dissect, ETF specific. So both of us actually have been to Europe for a little while. I've been spending a lot of time with friends and family in Switzerland. And then I've been at an event, diversification event, that I helped organize in Munich. And it was a great event. We had 200 people attending, many projects presenting, and a bit of networking before and after. And the thing that surprised me the most is it's so different, the experience that you have interacting with people online and actually seeing them in person. Like if you read Twitter or if you interact with them on Telegram or so, the sentiment was like medium, maybe slightly negative, agitated, and so on. And then you actually meet people in person, and everybody is relaxed, everybody is happy. There we had a lot of fun together. It was super buzzing. I would describe the word. Like everybody's just building, looking forward, very hopeful, very energetic, and there wasn't a slight bit of doubt or negativity or anything. It was just a wonderful experience, at least for myself. I don't know how was it for you? Would you say the same or?
I mean, look, 100%. It was a tough ending to the year. For those of you that are obviously wondering on, what happened to that wind-up order, we are in the process of fighting that. And we are doing our everything and all to kind of get this out of the way. And again, obviously, I mean, I have to be optimistic about this. I want to be very clear. I'm not allowed to give any kind of legal advice to this or legal opinion on this. But obviously, I'm optimistic about this and I give it all. Christmas was a bit of a mix for me. On the one hand, I was a bit, still kind of reflecting on everything, what went down, how it went down. I don't know, could I have done anything different somewhere? Could I have, I don't know, taken a different turn? But then at the same time, it was spending time with the family. And then coming out of all this, I was offline also for like almost 10 days, worked on some own things, did some writing, just because, I felt this always helps me. And coming to the event, I was a bit nervous also. DFI price was slashed 50%. I wasn't 100% sure how people would respond to everything. And then, going there, it was just absolutely incredible, just like you mentioned. People were very optimistic, very bullish, very supportive. They are very forward-looking, not backward-looking. And look, one thing I did, and I hadn't done this in a year, I think. I actually completely started blocking people on Twitter again. And the reason for that, and I can explain that, is a couple of people independently shared that they really think that the X algorithm is so good now that a lot of people get triggered by my tweets, even though they don't follow me. And the X algorithm understands who else gets triggered by my tweets and shows my tweets to these people, right? So they kind of, and these were people who are really knowledgeable. So this is not like the average kind of person. These are real people who understand marketing and so on. And they said, you should try this out. You can always undo it. See what happens if you actually block like a lot of these people who just negatively interact with your accounts. What happens? And initially I was a bit skeptical, but yeah, I started with this, I think on Sunday evening, just before the flight, before I flew back to Singapore. And then on Monday. So it was like 2 days. And I think in total, I think I blocked about 400 accounts. And since then, I'm not kidding, 99% of my timeline is super clean. Actually, my timeline changed. That's really interesting. So my timeline changed. I feel like I see very few things that also trigger me, but at the same time, I just feel that I'm not being shown to people that I trigger. Now, I do want to say, obviously, I think my direction is going to go down. It's going to be quite interesting. I mean, Twitter has been paying me twice a month quite handsomely for all this triggering and all this interaction. Let's see how that kind of goes. But it was, yeah, very interesting to kind of get that feedback and that outpouring of support and kind of togetherness. And yeah, I'm really excited for what lies ahead of us at the company, but obviously for the DeFi chain community, I think as a whole, man, I'm super bullish. I was really, really energized. That's very, like, couldn't have had a better start to the year.
Fully agreed. The start of the year was perfect. I've came out of a little bit of being sick, and I'm feeling all refreshed and energized again. We had a few great internal sessions at the company. One this morning where we really start off the year. As a few of you might have noticed that our communication, our external communications on socials and so on, was a little bit less than you guys are used to. But that's every time between Christmas and New Year. We really take this time to kind of recess, look back to the year, and look into the new year. That's also what we're going to do today. And yeah, start the year fresh. 2023 is the past. 2024 is the future. As you said in an internal meeting today, which really resonated with me. There is no need to dwindle in the past. It's yeah, look forward and make the best out of what comes. And I think in crypto, it was the last 3 years. Of course, we had 2021, which was marked the top. But since then, I don't know, 2022 was a bit of a medium year. 2023 definitely picked up. Not everything did. And maybe we can start off with, I don't know, expectations for 2024, or we want to go straight into the ETF. What's your preference, Julian?
Dude, I mean, look, I think one organization that didn't have such a good start to the year is the SEC. I mean, they started with a bust. You did your Hopium presentation today during Town Hall, and I loved the Ed Snowden post on X where he said, look, you had one job and one job only. And yeah, I thought that was great. Why don't we dive in with that and kind of talk about the first 2 weeks on what are we expecting to happen in those first 2 weeks? How did the SEC kind of mingle around there? Why don't you give us a bit of some insights on ETF approvals, all the hopium? I mean, let's be honest here. This has been basically the talk of the town for the last 7 months. And it kind of starts to apex right now. So I think that should be the main focus. Maybe we do another show just next week and we do a preview there. But let's see what we have as discussion, because we can always do a preview 2024. I think it's so current right now and so important to discuss all those crazy things.
Yeah, it feels like a lifetime, but the first application of BlackRock was, I think, end of May last year, when the first real ETF, spot ETF kind of hopium started. Was, I think it was May, end of May, mid of May, and that's only 7 months. But it feels like a lifetime that we're talking about this ETF. It's the topic number one, and now you made a tweet, I think on Monday, topics for this week, and you listed 6 times the Bitcoin ETF. And well, it is the talk of the town. But so everybody was expecting, like, probably we mentioned the January timeline the first time in August or September, where of course it's not that we make up these facts. We just look at what other people say that are very prominent, or they really know or have connections. And one of so here everybody's looking at Bloomberg. Bloomberg has 2 analysts. One is called Alex and Eric.
No, Eric Balchunas, and the other one is like I think James Sefri or something.
Okay, James and Eric, and both of them, they kind of
If
already.
we butcher their names right now, like everyone knows who we're talking about. So there's these two Bloomberg analysts, like those get the whole credit. If we butcher their names right now, not intentionally.
Yeah, so things really kind of came together. They gave it an 80% probability, then they went down, I think, to 70, then they went up to 90, and then I think last week they started to confirm Wednesday, and you could see it all everywhere on Twitter. It's done. Anthony Scaramucci came out and said very likely announcement on Wednesday, trading on Thursday. Bloomberg raised their probabilities, or I think they even said it's a done deal. So everybody was looking at today, actually Wednesday. Wednesday. Or
Yep. No,
some
no.
people
Today
said
should be the day. Today should be the day.
some people said the 11th, but today, Wednesday, was really the talk of the town. And of course, this all kind of led up to the price pump that we see mainly in Bitcoin. You could also see Bitcoin dominance going to 55%, Ethereum really selling off. We can go into Ethereum, Bitcoin a bit later, because I think we might actually agree once on the Ethereum Bitcoin pair. Which is super interesting. So definitely stay around for that. It could be actually some legit alpha that Julian and me are going to share here. And then the of course, yesterday evening, I think late at night in Europe, it was a 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock ish. The SEC came out with a tweet and said, this thing is approved. It's a done deal. And of course, the internet went mayhem. Everybody was retweeting it. Everybody was the price pumped to.
Were you awake when this happened? Because it happened like during my nighttime, so I was sleeping. You were awake?
I was awake.
Oh man! Did you
Yeah.
notice? Did you experience this live? How was it?
I don't know. I had a bit of, so the thing that kind of triggered me a little bit, the thing that I really tried to figure out is they never use a hashtag, and they used hashtag Bitcoin. I was like, wow, they're really
Yeah.
leaning into this. And I
Man,
saw
Gary the influencer is really into this.
and I saw a few critical voices. I think the top comment that got shown to me was Udi Wertheimer, and he said he raised some doubt that this is actually real. And of course, you could see the price pump.
What
Everybody
was
was
his
excited.
argument? But what was his argument? Do you remember? Or was it just
No
like that's not
argument.
real? I mean, isn't that?
I don't remember what his exact comment was, but he raised doubts, and everybody was
How was
jumping
your
on
what
it.
was your
And
gut feeling? How would you percentage wise? Did you say 90% it's in, or did you have any doubts? Or
I was pretty sure that it was legit, actually, because
okay, yeah,
the only thing that was raising doubts,
what's the
and I was
hashtag?
like, the hashtag and the timing, because it was a day too early. But then I thought, okay, they're just going to front run us with the announcement because everybody is expecting it tomorrow. It makes sense that they're going early with it. And but super exciting. Lots of chat rooms were, of course, exploding with messages on
Oh
Twitter.
man,
The timeline was full with "It's actually happening! Congrats, you front ran the world!" And then I think not even an hour after that, they
no, dude, that must have been way quicker. I saw the timeline. I think like Gary's tweet and was like 25 minutes afterwards or something, right? That must have been like, I mean, all alarm bells must have gone off.
yeah, and it's kind of weird that they got control of the account so fast. Of course, Twitter
But
confirmed that it was.
who made the post? Was that the like who declined it? Was that Gary's account or was that the official account? Then again, that I'm not sure. Yeah, because I saw
First,
all of this waking up this morning.
the Gary was first. So first the announcement, then Gary says the account was
Ah, that's
compromised,
wrong.
and then the
Yeah.
same text on the SEC's account as well, like 10 minutes later.
Okay.
And
Okay.
now, of course, we are in this limbo. So the Bitcoin spot ETF has not been approved yet, and everybody's still somewhat expecting that it's going to be approved today. But then on the other hand, it's super weird because the agency that kind of needs to oversee market manipulation kind of indulged in manipulation of the markets. They pumped the price and then dumped it again with a tweet that, of course, yeah, it was a compromised account. But now it would be so weird if they come out and approve it today. That's kind of if this incident yesterday wouldn't have happened. So if we wouldn't have seen the SEC's account compromised, I would still be 100% confident that the ETF comes today. But now that all of this happened yesterday, my probability of it actually being approved today just dropped by a lot.
Really? Really?
Yeah, I just, I don't know. It would be so weird, wouldn't it, that we like now or between now and tonight that we would see another tweet where they said, okay, sorry, yesterday was fake and today it's actually
I don't
legit.
think they're gonna make a tweet. I honestly just think they're gonna make
Website.
a website, or maybe nothing. I don't know why. Like I don't even know. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I get it. It's a huge deal that it's a Bitcoin ETF. But if we look at all the other ETFs, right? Let's look at. I mean, I don't know how many ETFs get approved every year. I think there's at least one a day. I think like over 400 ETFs get approved a year, right? I mean, I never see the SEC making a tweet or a post or something. I don't think they're gonna do anything. I think the SEC is just going to say, dude, like
So you
it's
still think it's
just
gonna
another
hit
day.
us today?
Yeah,
It's still gonna
yeah.
be approved today?
For me, nothing changed. Nothing changed since June or whenever, July. Like I have stuck course to that 10th of January. I'm not moving.
So are you trading it?
I'm long Bitcoin. Yeah, I'm long Bitcoin. I'm long Bitcoin. I mean, I think we discussed this a lot. I'm long Bitcoin. I'm long Ethereum. I'm long DFI. I'm long DUSD. I believe that Bitcoin is going to be though buy the rumor, sell the news. Not necessarily today. I think like maybe give it a week or 2 weeks. And I mean, we can discuss this. And I could easily see that maybe I'm going to rotate out of the Bitcoin position and maybe, go a bit more into alts. Because I do think it's going to see a bit of a run. And then it's going to fizzle out a bit because people are going to get back to reality where they're like, yeah, I mean, sure, there's billions of dollars coming in, but it's a lot of repositioning. And it's not like Bitcoin is now at 100,000. Yeah, Bitcoin had its nice pump, and now people are like, okay, and so now what's next? I need my dose. Like where's my juice? And it's gonna be too slow because what's next is having to send out thousands of people selling these ETFs to investors. And that's going to happen, but it's not going to happen within days and weeks, especially not now in January. I mean, everyone who actually has these financial advisors talking to them has 6,000 better things to do in January than talking about a new investment idea, right? This may happen in February, in March. This may happen next year during the summer, whatever. Like but it's going to take. I think I'm super bullish over the next 3 years, and I'm less bullish over the next 3 months, and that's it. So I'm going to use this as a really nice opportunity, and I'm probably going to rotate out of Bitcoin and into altcoins. And that's probably kind of my game plan. Let's see. Maybe I'm totally wrong, and we're going to see a massive sell-off, or we're really not going to get approved. I just don't see this happening. I don't know. What's your setup right now?
So of course I'm long Bitcoin. I'm also long ETH. I'm also long DFI. The majority of my position is Bitcoin spot in cold storage. So I'm not going to trade this, but I have a few expectations and a few things that I'm expecting so I'm torn in between two things. Initially I was expecting a buy the rumor, sell the news event. So Bitcoin ETF gets approved. We see a 10%, 12% candle up on approval just because all these bots and AIs and traders and whatnot, liquidations and so on, they're going to inflict some volatility. So don't trade this event. You most certainly are going to lose because there is many people that have a lot more resources and are smarter than us. But afterwards, so with my expectations of buy the rumor, sell the news, I'm a bit torn because I think I'm not sure which ETF that is affected, but I saw 3 different tweets from the block, I think, where they said there is 2 billion influx, I think, into the BlackRock ETF.
Yeah.
There is 300 million into another ETF. There is 70 million into that ETF. And I just don't think that they all bought yet. So with the start of the trading, if there is actually 2 point something billion in funds that need to be allocated and Bitcoin that need to be bought, my God, this could take us everywhere. Like this could really blow a massive blow off top. Could happen. So I'm definitely not going to trade this. I'm going to stay as far away as possible. All my funds in cold storage, so I can't touch them. But afterwards, I think there are a few interesting ideas that. Do we want to go into ETH Bitcoin pair maybe shortly?
Yeah, sure. Let's maybe I want to say one thing. So on this $2 billion from BlackRock, maybe one thing, it's not clear if these are fresh dollars going into Bitcoin or if it's simply existing Bitcoin that are done in an OTC deal, right? So that can easily be, because you can easily kind of swap, right? So kind of envision this: if these are, let's say, BlackRock close groups, I give you the Bitcoin, you give me dollars, and in the next transaction I buy back the ETF, right? So it's like a back and forth of a transaction. No Bitcoins ever were bought on the open market, but they kind of got introduced, because what's not possible is that this group introduces the Bitcoins themselves. It can only be done by BlackRock. That's the kind of cash generation of ETF shares. It cannot be done in kind. After the backing is done in Bitcoin, but the generation of the ETF can only be done in cash. That's because the SEC or whatever is worried about laundered Bitcoins getting into those ETFs. Whatever. But so I just want to explain this. So this is not clear if this is $2 billion in cash that actually then buy Bitcoin on the open market, or if this is basically $2 billion in Bitcoin where there's a one transaction and then back, but at the end it doesn't have really an impact on the price, but there's $2 billion suddenly in the ETF. Yep. Sure. Let's talk Bitcoin Ethereum pair. What's your thoughts?
So
I kind of spilled the beans on mine a bit. Yeah.
For everybody that follows along, so usually we have a bit of a different opinion there. I'm very much not a Bitcoin maxi, but I'm very much leaning towards the Bitcoin side with my allocation, with my following, and with my thoughts. I'm definitely more of a Bitcoin bull than I am on Ethereum. But there is two things that I kind of want to consider, maybe to bring in. So there's three categories: Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins, everything else. And let me just briefly touch on all three of them. So we were in Bitcoin season for the last 2 years or so. You could see that in the dominance. Dominance makes new all-time highs, and so on. The Bitcoin Ethereum pair sold off, and for altcoins, you always have this one narrative, Solana or a meme coin bonk that goes bonkers. But for the rest of the altcoins, they underperformed, or let's say the average altcoin underperformed both of these assets, or especially Bitcoin, during the last 2 years. And until now, we had always that change in sentiment that we went from Bitcoin season into alt season. And I would make two arguments now. The first one is we're going to see much less of an alt season than we saw in previous cycles, and not a broad band altcoin season. There is always going to be this one coin or these handful of coins like Solana or Bonk that are going to have extreme run-ups, and this will consist. But the top of the funnel changes with the Bitcoin ETF, because the money that flows into the Bitcoin ETF is not going to flow into other cryptos. It's not going to go down or up
You're
the
right.
risk
I
curve.
didn't think much. I didn't think this. Didn't think much about that. You're right. Yeah, it's gonna go
But
more between tech stocks and so on. Huh?
and here comes my but. If you go back to 2019, we saw Ethereum is dead. We went from, I don't know, 2000 to 200 or so. I don't remember the exact numbers, but we had a 90% correction. And a lot of people were saying, hey, Ethereum is never going to come back. The Bitcoin maxis were saying the scam is dead. The Solana people were saying we're going to flip you. There was a really, really bad sentiment in Ethereum. And not a lot of people actually bought it during that time. You could buy Ethereum, I think, for $100 or for $200 back then. And the narrative and the sentiment around Ethereum was really bad. And so it is today. And my expectation is, I'm not going to say Ethereum is, I don't believe in flippenings and things like that. Bitcoin is in a category of its own. But what I can completely foresee is a bottom of Ethereum Bitcoin very soon, probably within a week after the ETF is approved. And then slowly making its way up because of two factors. One is I can see that Ethereum is kind of that, it's like a bond in crypto, like that guaranteed 3-4% yields, an allocation that you kind of get into a pool of all these other things, like a safe bet that a lot of people will take, and that is, it's not going away. The proof of stake and the 4% yield is one factor, and the other factor is there will be talks. If the Bitcoin ETF is approved, all the crypto goldfishes are going to turn around and say, "What's next? What's next?" And what's next is the Ethereum ETF. So I think very soon, alpha idea is, Ethereum could be, it could actually have a great performance for the rest of the year. I don't expect a very bullish 2024, but we can go into that later. I'm really, really looking forward to hear your opinion on maybe a bit of alpha surrounding ETF, Ethereum, and alts. Can you share some insights with us, Julian?
So in a perfect world where crypto wouldn't be impacted by macro, wouldn't it be impacted by the rest of the world, I would 100% agree with you, right? Probably no, it's not even the pair. If everything goes as is and we are not going to see a crisis, there's no recession, there's no sell-off and so on, I would really align with you. If the hopium and the FOMO and all this stays, I would totally align. My biggest worry is just I see a good chance that after all this pump that we're having right now, we may see, I'm not saying like a 90 or 80% sell-off. I'm just thinking we are seeing a small sell-off, right? That could be 20%, 30%. Maybe we're going to see the 30s again, something like that, right? And I just always struggle believing that smaller coins, and I know Ethereum is the second largest, but it's still small in Bitcoin. I always struggle that in these sell-offs, the smaller coins have a better chance against Bitcoin during those times. Now, I could be totally wrong, and I'm not betting on a sell-off. I'm long crypto. I have no short positions or hedges at the moment in a meaningful amount that I would think, I don't know, I'm betting on a setback, but it's just something to kind of keep in mind a bit. And that is my only concern in all that. If we do see a bit of a recession or a setback or a harder soft landing, I would disagree with you. I think Bitcoin would still be king. Otherwise, if we kind of keep going from here, maybe the rest of Q1, maybe by the end of Q1, if I can just say over Q1, I would actually agree with you. I wouldn't have much to say. I mean, and one thing I always want to add, right? The beautiful part about investing is you can do and. You don't have to do or. That's the beautiful part, right? It's very different to most other things in life where it's either this or that. In investing, you can diversify. And that's the beautiful part. So I don't know. Do what I do, put a lot of your funds in Bitcoin and or Ethereum, and you're going to benefit, I think, quite well. So, yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'll let you go.
100% diversification is the key here. And if you just go for, there is many people that did in-depth analysis with what's the Sharpie ratios and how you can allocate and weight for market cap. If you like for all the I don't know if we talked about this. I think on Slack we had a brief back and forth. But I get criticized a lot within my own personal circles and on Twitter for people call me Bitcoin maximalist, but I'm actually not. I weigh my positions, Bitcoin and Ethereum, in market cap. So so my Bitcoin position is about 4 times bigger than my Ethereum position. But if Ethereum ever flips Bitcoin, well, it's fine. I'm going to be weighted 50-50. I'm going to have 50% Bitcoin and 50% Ethereum. So the key is diversification. You can slightly lean into one direction or the other. If you see, okay, we're going into a bear market, probably lean more into the Bitcoin direction, go a bit more conservative. And that's also what the market is doing. That's why Bitcoin dominance is going up. And that's also why further down the risk curve, which in my opinion, Ethereum and altcoins are further down the risk curve, they lean into more risk. So you can see Bitcoin dominance going down and these altcoins starting to outperform Bitcoin. And it's just individual preference if you are more into risk or not. And the second point, when we are talking 2024 or 2025, is my worry or my expectation is just we are too early. A lot of people talk about altcoin season, about the bull run, and I don't think we're in a bull run yet. If we go back to 2019, we saw the one coin pump when we went from $3,500 to $14,000 pre-halvening. And then we went from 14,000 back to 4 with COVID. And a lot of people seem to forget that we had this front running of the halving. And if you would go back in time 2 years and ask people, what do you expect happening before the halving and after the halving? A lot of people would have said, there will be a front running and then we're going to sell off and the bull run starts end of 2025. Just remember, if you are a believer in cycle theories, we are still 1 year too early. If you're not a believer in cycle theory, well, then it doesn't really make a difference. Then other things, the things that Julian usually brings up, like money supply and interest rates and global liquidity, are much more of an impact. But there as well, the liquidity is not doing that great. We don't have low rates. We have still quantitative tightening, not easing. And so I think we're still, for the real bull run, we're still a year too early. This is mainly hopium and excitement about the ETF. And that's hopefully going to come. If not, we're definitely going to sell off. And if it's going to come, we already talked about that scenario. What are your expectations? I think, Julian mentioned a few things in private and also at the event, what his expectations are. I'm not sure. There are a few alpha ideas and a few really, really interesting things. I don't know what you want to share with the broader public on that.
Sure. Happy to talk about a few things. I mean, let's talk about the things that maybe are a bit more, a bit, let's say, I don't want to say controversial, but a little bit more contrarian in comparison to everyone else. I think the first statement is I'm bullish on the year. So I think we're going to see a green annual candle, but I'm less bullish on the first half, maybe even until the third quarter even. But let's say until the end of the summer, so August-ish, I am probably a bit more on the cautious side. So I would be extremely surprised, positively surprised, but extremely surprised if we're going to see a green candle for the year in August, so year to date. And there's a couple of reasons. I do think we're going to have some liquidity issues in the markets. Markets are going to have more of a recession kind of tendency. Generally, I think the market went into last year way too pessimistic, including myself. I mean, I was optimistic, but I really didn't expect 150% in Bitcoin. And the year prior, in 2022, we all went into the year way too optimistic. And in general, crypto investors have a recency bias, and we just believe this year is going to be the same thing as next year. So we're all sitting here and are like, oh, we're going to see 150% and we're going to see $100,000. And reality is probably we're going to see like 60, 70% on the Bitcoin side, which would put us into a new all-time high. And I think there's a good chance we're going to see a new all-time high. But I am not as bullish over the entire year. I think we're going to have quite a setback and then a recovery. And I think, like, if you look at Raoul Paul and many others, I don't know, Fabio, how you see the other influencers, but a lot of people, they're all like, oh, we're going to see a new all-time high now with the ETF, that we're going to have the halving. I think the halving this year is going to be more of a non-event because it's all going to happen right now. And again, the halving is more of an emotional event. I just don't think much is going to happen there. But again, maybe I'm completely wrong. And yeah, I think we're going to see way more push towards the end of the year because there's going to be US election, and I think the market is going to, the Fed or someone is going to have to inject some liquidity, and that's a bit of my kind of entire thing here. I don't know how you see this. What are your thoughts, beliefs? How do you see this? What do other influencers say? That would also be interesting.
I think you're 100% right with the assessment that most influencers and most of Bitcoin or crypto Twitter is way too bullish right now. Way too bullish. Like we saw, I don't know, for example, Adam Beck expects 100,000 Bitcoin before the halving. So within the next 4 months, 100K. And you have many, many others that have crazy predictions for this year. And I think it's a quote from Bill Gates out of the 90s that most people overestimate the short term and underestimate the long term. And that's where I stand a little bit. So I'm massively bullish. Like I'm crazy bullish. Like I believe Bitcoin is going to hit 1 million, but not within the next 5 years, not within the next 6 years, probably with, after 2030, maybe between 2030 and 2040. I'm massively bullish on Bitcoin, also on other projects, but not in the short term. In the short term, there's just too many too many questions, too many uncertainties. As you already hinted at it, it's global liquidity, it's the Fed, it's elections, it's two wars that we have. It's, I don't know, demographic trends. It's a lot of other things that give a lot of uncertainty. And we Bitcoiners, or we crypto people, we think the US dollar is going to fail within like 2 or 3 years. Like if you go
2 or 3 months, come on.
next week.
Yeah, next week, tomorrow.
And if you go, like we sound like a bunch of doom and gloomers. If you go on Bitcoin Twitter and you just read what we talk there, it's a bit doom and gloomy sometimes. It's not that we actually are doom and gloomers. Like there is a lot of hope in crypto. That's the reason why we are here. We believe in a brighter future, in a better future. But I think the US dollar is still going to be around in 20 years. I'm pretty sure. But so is Bitcoin and crypto.
Dollar is going to be worth way less than today, for sure. But I agree, it's still going to be around. Yeah.
Yeah. And the kind of estimates that, or the dubious speculation that we're sharing here, or the discussions that we are having, is I hope it's in a nuanced way. It's not that Julian or me, we say it's 100% going to be that way, or it's 100% going to be the other way. It's kind of, we try to highlight both outcomes and maybe, put a likelihood on them. And, also maybe trying to convey the message that, as Julian said, you can play both sides, and you can kind of not try to be wrong, because that's what at least I learned this from you. You say this a lot of times. Just don't try to be wrong. Just try to, that's also like the hodl spirit in crypto. Hodling is just not trying to be wrong, protecting yourself from your own emotions, from the downturns. Because I recently, it's very funny, because you talked about that book as well. There's a book from Morgan Housel. He actually wrote 2 books, and wonderful recommendations. One is The Psychology of Money, and the other is The Same as Ever. And he talked about many people think I am a hardcore investor. Nothing can shake me out of that market. Guess what? A lot of people thought that of themselves as well. And then a massive worldwide event happened, like, I don't know, maybe 9/11, the great financial crisis and things like that. And your belief in the markets and in the future is just shaken to its core. And we never really had that. Of course, crypto people are a bit more used to a lot of volatility, but like really an end of the world scenario where you see Lehman people walking out of their offices, and on every news station in a country, it is the financial system is collapsing. It really takes some guts to keep continuing to invest. And I guess many of you here had some similar experiences, but these are the moments that kind of define our investment journey. If we can go deep within ourselves and kind of hodl on when it's heavy. Yeah.
Yep. No, I think you couldn't have said it any better. I mean, I agree with that. Yep. I think right now it's really about hodl time. I mean, if you're a long-term hodler, I think you're going to have a really nice year. If you're trying to, I don't know, get in and out, or out and in, then it's going to be a bit tricky. Let's see. I'm definitely not going to go all out, all in or something, but I may try to, either because I'm going to, I don't know, sell a future, or maybe I'm going to just buy some put options and insure myself. Maybe I'm going to sell some of the position. Let's see. But the dangerous part in crypto is in general that it can pump so easily. So it's really, really dangerous. And yeah, and in general also, I mean, that's an interesting psychological thing, right? It's those people that always have these gloomy, or let's say doomy kind of scenarios. They tend to always kind of stand out, and that's why you have a lot of influencers doing that, and you have like always these kind of crash prophecies and so on. It's because this sounds so exciting, and in the 9 times where they are wrong, no one cares because people are making money. But in this 10th time, people lose money, but these people get all the credit. So if you actually want to have the best out of both worlds, what you would be doing is you would constantly go long something, but always kind of tell people that tomorrow there's going to be a 20% crash, right? Because you would always make money, and when this thing actually happens, you gain credibility. It's quite interesting. Yeah, so that's just something I want to share here for all the people like who really love to make the doomy scenario. And I always try to be very reasonable. Again, I don't think we're going to see much doom in the next couple of weeks, but next couple of months, maybe a little bit just as a bit of a healthy correction. And then end of the year, again, I'm quite on the positive side again. Yeah.
Maybe we can use the last 20 minutes to give some insights that maybe you could share a bit on the backside and I could share a bit on the
Yeah.
DeFi side, what we can expect or what we kind of can look
Let's do
forward
that.
to in 2024.
Let's do
Do you
that.
want to
Do
start
you
us
want
off?
to? No, you go. You go first. I think it would be
Okay.
nice. Maybe give a bit of a talk a bit about the meetup on Sunday. I think that was nice. You organized it. It was really cool. Talk a bit about this. Who did we meet? What are the ideas? Yeah.
Yeah. So first of all, I don't know whom I talked to. I talked to some guy and he said you're always wearing the same shirt and you only own like one shirt. So
Blue and red. So that's what
I
everyone says here. Blue or red. Blue or
I
red. I didn't understand what was everyone talking about, and then I realized it was about your shirt.
yeah, I actually own a few, and I put on a blue one because normally usually it's red. Um, I had so many good conversations, and look, my estimate right now is, and of course that's anecdotal evidence, but you had a lot of people that actually came to the event, and they told me this in person. I went to a few people after the event, and I asked them, "Hey, what do you think? How do you judge the sentiment? How did you like it?" And many people said, "I came here to kind of judge the sentiment and just feel how the spirit is." And almost everybody I talked to was extremely positively surprised, not only by, let's say, the sentiment, just how positive and how buzzing the atmosphere was. And like it really was buzzing, especially the night before was even better than the event, for me at least, because like I stood up very late and had so many great conversations with guys from Vanilla Lab, from DuckDAO, from eBox, from Jellyverse, Black Swan, all of these companies that are currently building within the ecosystem. Like I especially had a bit of a bromance going with the DuckDAO, Vanilla Swap, and eBox guys, but that's also because I didn't previously know them very well, and we kind of leveled. We wiped. Let's just say it like that. And they gave me a few insights on why they are here and what they are building. And if you were following along the conversations and the streams, we had a live stream, and I'm sorry about that. That was the only really bad thing about the event. The live stream was really bad. We're currently looking into AI tools to kind of bound up the audio and clean out the side noises and trying to upload it again. But for me, the gist of it was I was extremely surprised. Even though I'm at the core of the community and I almost see and hear everything, I was surprised by actually how much is going on. And there are certain problems that we still kind of carry with us. We need to break out a bit of the German region, of the DACH region, a little bit, and we have the DUSD where we currently have the team repack that are working on getting that thing back to a dollar. But I think the moment a lot of people don't believe it's actually possible, but the moment it will happen that the stablecoin depacked and goes back to peg will blow away everybody. It's going to be the first stablecoin that depacked and came back, and it's going to inflict a lot of trust back into the system. And there is many people, and I'm sure you know them, some of them that are currently not invested, but are following with two eyes, not with one eye, but with two eyes. And I can completely foresee a moment where in like this, and everything shifts around. The whole sentiment is bullish, and we are in for a surprise. Look, what I can see is the community is condensed to a lot of. It's a small community, but a hardcore community. Everybody's building, everybody's doing something. They're believing, they're still buying. You can see the charts that Kuki and DC share. So there's a lot of excitement, and I would highly recommend, if you were not participating in that event that we had in the beginning of January. I know there were only 200 tickets and it sold out in a week. We're going to do that again. I cannot promise you when, but soon, this year probably, and we're going to do it bigger and better with a live stream that actually works. And I would highly recommend participate in an event like this. come and meet, shake hands, talk to the people that are behind, talk to the people that are building, and you will see it with completely different eyes. Social media and Telegram is not a good way to judge these things, because, yeah, I don't know, the algorithms and the trolls, yeah, it's very different in an in-person event. So
Night
yeah.
and day. Yeah, and well done on the organization, Fabio. I know how difficult it is to be events man. That was really amazing. Yeah, it was really, really good. Uh, yeah, no. Maybe what can I add there? I mean, on the big side, I think obviously two focus points. We really want to help on the DeFi chain side, and we want to help building on the ecosystem. We want to contribute. We want to help as much as we can on that USD repack. I just want to also manage expectations on timelines. We talked about this during the meetup as well. And then people are like, oh, so that means Bake is going to buy DUSD tomorrow. I just want to manage expectations. First of all, there's no promise that Bake is going to buy DUSD. And this is something I would love to bring to the board, and this is something has to be decided on the board. But I would love for Bake to buy some DUSD, not only to support the community, because I actually think it may be a really good investment. And this has to be a board decision. Now, I want to be very clear. This may take 1 or 2 months, right? This is not something I can do tomorrow. I mean, unless we are spending 2,000 US dollars, and I don't think that's the meaningful amount. Like, we would have to do some amounts, and that has to be a board decision. So you need to be a bit more patient on this. You cannot expect this to happen tomorrow. I just want to manage timelines and manage expectations. So we want to help on the DeFi chain side. We want to contribute. We want to build. We want to build on top. We want to help with USD. I shared some really exciting ideas during the meetup around potential WASM as a layer 2, if you want to call it, for DeFi chain. I think this would be so freaking exciting and so powerful. But that's something that at the end, the engineers really should take over, the core engineers, and really kind of push there. To me, this is just something that one of the best ideas I've heard in a long time. And then there's a whole other stream, right? And I want to be very clear. For example, when we make an announcement about adding a new coin, adding a new bundle, adding a new thing that has nothing to do with DeFi chain, it's not because we don't believe in DeFi chain. It's just because we want to expand. We want to attract a different part of the communities. We want to attract different languages, different regions, and so on, right? So be very, very clear about this. Just because we are focusing on a different bundle or on a different trading idea or alpha idea or on the alpha desk for our elites, it does not mean that this is saying no to DeFi chain. It just means saying yes to other things as well. And at the end, this is going to be a huge, huge win-win. So that's going to be a major focus. The team is super excited. We had a really good kind of kickoff today. And yeah, because I just came back here on Monday from Europe, so we did kickoff today. And yeah, it's I think everyone's very focused, very excited, optimistic about the future, and yeah, I think the road ahead looks very shiny. I don't know if there's anything that you feel I should add here, but yeah, it's I really, I mean, it's an exciting time right now. I said 2023 was the year of transition, transformation, and now it's about this butterfly coming out of the cocoon. I don't know. I think that's a beautiful kind of image I see in front of my eyes.
100%. Sometimes I really feel like an old person. It's crypto. 1 year in crypto really does feel like 10 years. Like in the beginning of today, we talked about the first, when BlackRock and Larry Fink hinted that there's going to be a spot ETF. That's 7 months ago. It feels like this is 10 years ago. It feels like of course, the Winklevoss twins, they fired their first application actually 10 years ago, but this feels more like 100 years ago. Like it's like BC stuff for a lot of people. So the interesting thing is all of us don't really know. Like, one thing we can maybe do for 2024 or maybe even 2025 is the narrative or the thing that kind of that sparks interest in you, where you say, okay, this could be a thing in the broader crypto industry, to kind of hint to people what you're currently looking at. Not that this will pump, but the thing that is currently sparking interest with you. What would that be?
You mean as a project, as a coin, what specifically?
More narrative wise, not that you name a coin and say, okay, this coin or that coin. More a bit like the intersection, maybe AI or gaming or NFTs, ordinals, like the yeah.
always believed that crypto had the easiest in the finance space just because everything can be digital. I think the DeFi space was a really strong kind of push in 2020, 2021. And then it kind of started not getting traction because it was missing some pieces. I do believe we're going to see a lot of this DeFi 2.0, what a lot of people are talking about this year. Uh, what does that mean? That is, on the one hand, an intersection between a lot of the other spaces. So NFTs, NFTFi, the GameFi, a lot of these things are going to get dragged in and getting interconnected via DeFi. And I think that's going to be an interesting one. So you're going to be able to do a lot of things that before was just with tokens. Now suddenly you can use this with other assets, other tools. I think that's the first thing. The entire Ethereum restaking thing is going to get massive this year. It's also something that I talked to our product today, where I said, hey, we should really kind of focus a bit on the entire restaking thing on Ethereum, just because I just think there's going to be people making 10, 20, 30% for their ETH. Obviously, there's some massive slashing risk there. I think that can be quite exciting. So that's something we should definitely look into. Aside of that, depending on how the market is, and we're really going to see an entire kind of summer happening, we may see this entire airdrop hype and this entire kind of points collection hype. And that can be absolutely bonkers. I think it's kind of like ICO hype 2.0. It's like a DeFi hype 2.0. That can be quite interesting. Let's see how that's going to play out. So these are the things. What do you see?
Yeah, for me, number one, by far, it's kind of a boring topic, and I do align there with Larry Fink, but it's real world assets. I think the number one use case, like it's very easy to see the finance things, the finance stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Is because Bitcoin it was the first, is still there, and it is actually Bitcoin is actually DeFi, but it's somewhat limited. And I have this standpoint since about 4 years, 3 years, but I really think that, especially as a DeFi in and around Bitcoin with real world assets, and I know we have, of course, we have that with DeFi chain. There's other people really building legit stuff, like Black Swan, for example, also Singaporean company that is building within the DeFi chain ecosystem. They're also doing real world assets. You have things on the Ethereum side that are kind of becoming really big. And we will see a lot of experimentation, and it's not going to be done right the first time, but the people, I guess, that stick around and keep iterating and keep building, it's a huge market. It's approximately, it depends if, so, okay, let me, if I have another minute or so, but
sure.
What people don't understand is how these clearing houses like NASDAQ and all of the New York Stock Exchange and things, they are so antiquated. We are using technologies from the 70s, from the 80s. We close markets down on the weekend. It's like we're living in the Middle Ages, and nothing happened in and around that. And Larry Fink made a few really interesting comments there. This industry, it never had a revolution. It never really moved forward. And it will move forward. It will adopt to the new age, to the internet age, to the digital age. It will be instant. It will be, taking. You are basically allowed to buy a share of a hotel, or I don't know. It's going to be much easier, much more streamlined, 24/7, instant, without this big apparatus in the background. And I think it's $100 trillion problem that is going to be, look, if it's solved on one chain or on many chains, with one company or many companies, I don't really know. But real world assets, I think is going to be one of the biggest narratives or things that is going to come and flare up again. And I don't know, the other thing is, we previously talked about that as well. One other thing that we desperately need to have a solution for is identity online. And there is a big downside. It's very dangerous, especially if it's centralized. But if there is a good solution for identity, Vitalik talks about that a lot. So these two things, of course, and AI, these are probably my top three.
Cool. Yep, aligned. And no, that's good. Anything to finish up, or everything said?
The ordinary, especially if you just joined us now on YouTube or on Twitter, please make sure to start at the beginning. It was a good session packed with alpha, with a few cool takes about what could expect us in 2024. It's also available on Apple Podcast and on Spotify. Thank you for tuning in. And of course, I think we're going to be back next week. No?
Yes, I think that would be a good time. I think not on Tuesday next week. We'd have to do on Wednesday. But yeah, that would be timeline. That would be fine. Cool.
Amazing.
Yeah, looking forward. My lawyers just wrote to me. I just filed my affidavit. So the fight continues. I'm optimistic. Just want to let this know here. Great. They just dropped me a message. And I asked, can I share this? They said, yes, you may. So I'm sharing it. Great, everyone. Hey, with this, happy Wednesday. Wishing you all the best. And stay healthy, stay safe. And see you soon. Thank you so much. All the best. Fabio and Julian, bye-bye.